Lights. Music. Let's get Christmassy. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's me again, Chelsea, and today is gonna be a long one because I am bringing you a series update. So I'd recommend going and grabbing a snack and a drink and let's settle down into this. So I've split this video into two parts. I may have actually missed some series. I really hope I haven't, but I think I might have. Either way, the only way a series is counted in this video at any stage is if I have read the first book. So if I've started the first book, which I've done for numerous series, then it's not counted at all because I am yet to finish that specific first book, which will then mean I have fully started a series, embarked on a new journey, shall we say. Yeah, we'll stick with that. That sounds really poetic. So this is split into two parts. The first part we're going to talk about is a hefty stack of books. Like I couldn't lift this stack of books, it would be taller than me. Is the books that I have started, the series that I've started that are completed. And then the second part will be series that are kind of ongoing, that I've started the first book of. So I'm either up to date on or only slightly behind, but they're ongoing series. So let's get into the series that I have started that are already completed in their entirety. Unless the author decides to change, because there is one series on this list, I'm sure you can guess it, which is essentially, it was completed. It was a trilogy with a novella. And this year, another book got added. So it's now been shifted into a different pile. It has been shifted into the series that are still ongoing. Leave your guesses down below about which series you think that one is. But I'm babbling too much. Let's get started on the series that I've started that are completed. So this first book, I have to hold up the sequel because I don't actually own the first book. I borrowed the first book originally when I read it from the library, and then I listened to it on audio, and I was meant to carry the series on and I never did. So that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely. So this is a sequel, A Heart So Fierce and Broken. I enjoyed this book. Pretend this is the other one. I enjoyed the first book. It was a 4 stars. It's been a 4 stars both times I've read it, physically and audibly. Both times I was like, I need the sequel, I need to carry on, I need to read this. And originally I put it off because I was like, well, it's a trilogy and the third book hasn't come out yet. But the third book has officially come out. I now own it and I still have yet to carry on. And since the third book has come out, I've listened to this book audibly and I still haven't carried on. So I don't really know what's going on with me. I don't really know what's wrong with me, but this is one that I definitely need to crack on with and get through. In the first book I'm going to try and give you some brief summaries of these books, but again, I'll try and link them all down below for you from Goodreads. So in the first book, we're following Harper, and we are following her as she kind of gets abducted and taken to this weird magical place that she doesn't realise is actually magical until a little bit further into the book. She has like a really rough upbringing. She has a brother who is doing really dangerous things to try and get money to pay off the debtors that her dad got them in debt to, and then she's whisked off to this magical place, all for trying to help a woman she believed was in danger. And we go through, it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I love it. I love Harper. I love how sassy she is. I do like how hard it is for them to kind of connect. I am a big believer in the enemies to lovers trope for whatever reason, but I did really enjoy it. So I do need to carry on with the series. I do need to find the time, but I don't know when I'm going to do it, and I think I'm going to be saying that constantly throughout this video because apparently I start more series than I think, and I don't read an awful lot of standalones, and I also have a lot of series on these shelves behind me that I am even yet to start. So let me know down below in the comments as well if you want to see a video of the series that I own that I am yet to start, because I also reckon that would be a heck of a video. The next book, I read this first book last year when it came in a book box. I have since bought the sequel. The series is now finished. It is a duology, I believe. I could be wrong here. And I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I think 4 or 5 stars. Can't remember. I remember really loving it. And it is the Bone Criers Moon. So this is kind of like, again, an enemies to lovers kind of vibe. We have our 2 main female characters, Sabine and Annalise, who are part of this like coven of women who are the Bone Criers, and their job is to ferry the dead to their respectful bridges when they die. And it is a bone crier's fate, essentially, to go to this one bridge and perform this ritual that summons their one true love, and they can either live with them for a year or they have to kill them there and then to kind of become a fully grown, flourished bone crier. And it's really good. I like this premise. Annalise is fantastic at being a bone crier. She is set to take over the matriarchal role, and her friend Sabine kind of doesn't want to do bone crying. She doesn't feel as though she's got any attachment to being a bone crier, or that she's not very good at it. So when Annalise is kidnapped by her so-called one true love during her ritual, Sabine does everything in her power to obviously get her back. And I really love the friendship in this. Sabine does everything in her power to try and get Annalise back, and we obviously have the enemies to lovers portion with Annalise and the boy who has kidnapped her. So I really rated this book, but I am yet to start the second one. I read this in like the start of last year, so I feel as though I need to do a reread and go back to this world and then possibly finish it that way. But I need to dedicate some time to actually read both books, so maybe audio is the way to go. I don't know, if you've read the audio of this, let me know, because I am intrigued to try and maybe get that on audio. We'll see how we go. The next book finished very recently, and that was Aurora Rising. So this is a trilogy by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. It is sci-fi, so our main character Aurora is found in the wreckage of a spaceship many years after she actually remembers boarding it, and she's rescued by a young pilot called Tyler. And Tyler has dreams of becoming this amazing commander of a new squadron, and he ends up, because of saving Aurora, he ends up with the dregs, so he's very unhappy about that. And because of Aurora, they're thrown into a load of different trials and tribulations that go with being, you know, friends with this young girl, and there is so much that they don't know about her, and there's so much she doesn't know about herself. I loved it. I thought this book was amazing. Loved this, loved the sequel. Currently reading the third and final book, so I am hoping to get to that really soon and to finish that really soon. Am I going to finish it this year? Who knows? Depends on what my end of year reading looks like. But yes, I have really enjoyed this, and again, it's one that I need to finish, and I actually can see the light at the end of the tunnel with this series, which sounds like it's a trial. It's not, but there's one book left, and I kind of don't want to read it because I think it's going to break my heart, but I also do really want to read it. So the next book is also a trilogy. It is a booktube favourite. It is Carhill by Stephanie Garber. So this is a trilogy. Like I said, I've read the first two books. Again, I need to read the final book. So the first one, we are following our main character Scarlet, who has been writing to the Carhill ringleader for years in hopes of getting a long-awaited invitation to invite her and her sister to go to the amazing Carhill, which is essentially like a big performance that anything can happen, and there's magic and there's mystery and there's mayhem, and it's fantastic. And she finally gets an invitation, and her and her sister go, and no sooner have they arrived but her sister is kidnapped, and Scarlet is tasked with trying to find her sister first. It's like the end point of this game, and we are following Scarlet through everything. And my favourite thing about this series, and it happens in the sequel as well, so I'm guessing it's going to happen in the third book, is that you don't know who to trust and what is real, and I really love that kind of intrigue. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, I really need to read the third book, which is again something I'm going to say because I read a lot of trilogies and I seem to get to the second book and then stop for whatever reason. So I need to make that stop. I need to read the third book of this and cross this series off my list, because I know I'm going to love the third book. Really enjoyed the first two. It's going to carry on for the third, unless something has drastically changed, but I know it hasn't, because I think I am in love with the way Stephanie Garber writes her worlds, and I also want to get a move on and start Once Upon a Broken Heart as well, which is her newest book, her newest release, which is set in the same universe but not the same series. So I need to get on with this. So the next two books that I'm going to talk to you about, I am taking part in buddy reads to read the entire series, so hopefully I actually stick to this. So the first one is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas. This is the first book, and to be fair, I think everyone reads them in a completely different way. We are currently reading Crown of Midnight in December, and it'll carry on until they're done. I don't know when Assassin's Blade fits in to the way this is being read, not a blinking clue, but I'm just following it and I'm really enjoying it. So I have read this for the second time now. I read this last month. I am now on Crown of Midnight, like I just said. So I'm 2 books into, I think there's 7 books in this series. Yeah, including the Assassin's Blade and Tower of Dawn. Again, not too sure where they fit in. But we are following our main character Selena, who is a assassin, and she is like the best assassin that her city has ever seen, until she got caught and sent to the salt mines, which is like a prisoner camp, and she is brought back from there to be a contender to try and become the king's champion, and would then work for the king and be his assassin. And there are loads of trials and tribulations and everything throughout this book. I mean, give me a book where there is like a magic school or a competition system and I'm all in. So this is a competition system. There is like ancient magic afoot. There is all sorts of weird and wonderful things. I'm really enjoying it. I think this one got 4 stars from me. I'm further into Crown of Midnight than I was the first time I read it, and I'm enjoying it even more than when I first read it, so fingers crossed I can finish that this month in December. But yes, I'm actually so glad that I'm taking part in the buddy read for this, because it's making me more motivated, and it's the same for the next series that I'll talk about in a second. I find that buddy reads, especially for series, are one of the most motivating things, because either you are a person, and this used to be me, I would feel as though I couldn't keep up and then I get myself really down, or you just enjoy it, and that's what I've tried to do with this buddy read and the ones I do with my lovely friend Kate as well. I find buddy reads where if I have too much on and I can't read the book, I can say, hey look, I can't do this, my life's a little bit hectic, or I've been in a massive reading slump, and the people I'm reading with go, that's completely fine, read when you can. And it just makes me feel more motivated. So I really like buddy reads. If there's anything you see in this pile and any other pile that you ever want to buddy read, just leave me a comment, drop me a message on any of my social media platforms. Let me know. I'm all down to buddy read. So that is Throne of Glass. And then the other series that I'm reading as part of Barb's Bookland Discord buddy sprints is Assassin's Apprentice. So this is the first trilogy within like the whole compact world of Robin Hobb's books. So we are currently reading The Royal Assassin, which is book 2, and I have started that and I am enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it more than I actually was enjoying this, and I don't know why, because I'm really not that far in, but because I already know the world and I've kind of got used to Fitz now. This was a 3 stars for me. It's a good book, but I didn't fall in love with it. However, now that I've started the second book and I'm kind of getting like, there's a bit of a recap at the start but done in a really good way, and I'm getting back into the world, I'm really enjoying it, and I don't know what the difference is. So I'm hoping that that continues and that the next book obviously boosts up to a 4 star and then it just carries on going up. Obviously with my ratings there's only so far you can go. You can only go to 5 star. But I'm hoping that I can like slowly just make progression, and the further into these books I get, the more I fall in love with the characters. I feel like with this one it was really slow with the world building and with any action, which is completely fine. This is a heck of a series. Even though it's a trilogy, it's a trilogy within many other trilogies, and I believe there's a trilogy further on down the line that links back into Fitz, and that's meant to be really heartbreaking from what I've heard. So I think by that point I'll have fallen in love with the character and like I'll feel that pain, which would then give me a 5-star read. So we're following Fitz, who is a bastard essentially, and when he is given over to the court again to be raised because his grandfather has had enough and doesn't want to feed him because he believes that his father should feed him. His father is actually a prince, and he abdicates his throne and just kind of leaves this child in the court. So Fitz is then raised by the stable master and is later on obviously starting to be trained to become an assassin so that he has a use to the king. And yeah, first book 3 stars, but I feel like I'm going to enjoy the second book way more now that I understand the world and I get a bit of backstory. So I cannot wait to read that, but they get so much chunkier after this one. This one's really nice and small. After this they just get really, really thick. So I'm a little bit terrified, but I need to find time to read them so I can keep up with the schedule, because that is what I want to do. I want to keep up with the schedule. I want to carry on reading with everyone else. I'm really enjoying it. So hopefully that'll be my motivation to carry on with this series, and hopefully it'll be one of the first series that I actually managed to finish in 2022. This next book is completed and I don't know why I haven't carried on. Well, I can't seem to bring myself to buy the next book, but I have got it on loan from the library later on this month, I think, and hopefully that will give me the push to carry on with the series. And that is Renegades. This is YA. This is about superheroes and anarchists. So our 2 main characters, one is obviously a superhero and one is an anarchist, and they both kind of have similar goals, but they collide in like this really weird way. So Nova is our anarchist, and she essentially infiltrates the good guys to try and bring them down from the inside, essentially. And then we have Adrian, who is part of the Renegades, who are the good guys, and he has got this like secret side project that no one knows about, and it kind of makes him seem as though he's actually an anarchist when that is the complete opposite of what he wants to accomplish. This is an enemies to lovers book. I think I gave this 3 stars. I saw the ending of this one coming, and I think that's why like I haven't wanted to carry on, but I do want to finish this series. I want to see where it goes. And I try really hard, unless like I really hate a book, I try really hard not to DNF anything, especially a series on the first book, because I am well aware that series usually grow. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen with this. I'm hoping they just get better and better as I carry on, and I'm hoping that I carry on with this series from the end of this month. So fingers crossed. Now, this book, it's been a long time since I've read the first book, but I gave it 5 stars and I really enjoyed it, so I need to carry on with the rest of the trilogy, and that is Serpent and Dove. So this is a very Marmite book. I feel like you either love it or you don't, and I loved it. So there's enemies to lovers in this. We have got our main character who is a witch, and she ends up marrying through some weird turn of events a witch hunter, and it all just kind of spirals from there. I love it. I love their chemistry. I love the hatred. I loved it. It was 5 stars. I couldn't put this down when I was reading it, so I really need to pick up the sequel, which I've owned for ages, which was Blood and Honey. The 3rd book came out this year, I think, which is Gods and Monsters, and I know why I didn't pick this up. So the sequel, I bought the special Fairy Loot reprint edition, so this doesn't have the artwork on the back of this dust jacket, but the second one does, and so does the 3rd one. It took so long for this to arrive that I ended up buying a different copy to read the first book, which I've actually got down on my shelf. So I own 2 copies of this book, and then it was so delayed because of obviously the pandemic and everything else that by the time the book came, I was halfway through a load of other things and I just couldn't find the time to pick it up. So I need to change that, and I need to pick it up. So maybe that'll be my plan for 2022. This next series isn't actually a fantasy series, it is a mystery thriller series of the YA variety, and that is Truly Devious. I have read the first 3 books. I am now on the 4th book, which is The Box in the Woods, and I just need to finish it. But I think the reason I'm dragging my feet a little bit is because The Box in the Woods is not set following this crime, which is in the original first 3 books. So I think it should have been a trilogy, but it's 4 books, so I will read the 4th book. In the first 3 books, we are following Stevie Bell, who has been accepted into Ellingham Academy, which is like this illustrious private school where really smart kids get to do what they want and learn how they want to do because they can. And she is hellbent on solving the prominent mystery which is linked with this school, which is the Albert Ellingham disappearances and murders. So the founder, Albert Ellingham, one day his wife and his young daughter are kidnapped and no one knows what happened. The wife is found dead later on, and then this student is as well, but the child is never found, and it is like this massive mystery, and Stevie is sure she's going to solve it. So we followed that for 3 books and I loved it. And then the 4th book is set following a different murder. So I think that's why I'm dragging my feet, but I loved this. I thought the whole series was like 4 stars, really loved it. A little bit missing because it wasn't 5 star, but I really liked it, and I didn't see all of the twists and turns coming, which again is another key thing if you are reading a mystery thriller. So I recommend this if you want a YA mystery thriller. It's really, really good, and I need to just finish the last Blinking book because I'm sure it's going to be good in its own right. It's just not linked to this, so we'll see how it goes. This is an oldie but a goodie, well, ish, and that is Shadow and Bone. I've read the first book like twice now. I need to carry on with the series. The first book is like a 3 star, I think. Nothing really happens. The best bit is the travelling bit in the middle. We're following Elena, who discovers she may possess powers that she didn't really know existed, and this like throws her into like a really lavish lifestyle after being part of the military and being an orphan. And yeah, not a lot really happens, but I need to finish the trilogy because it's like a booktube classic. There is a TV show. I don't want to watch the TV show until I've read this. I have finished the Six of Crow duology, so I just need to read this, and then I can read the King of Scars duology as well by Leigh Bardugo, and then I would have read everything she's come out with so far, I think. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I just need to find the motivation to finish this series because I don't really hear a lot of good things about this series, which doesn't promote me to actually read them, but I want to say that I've read them. So that's what I need to do. I love a good duology, and this one is definitely great. I just haven't obviously finished it, and that is Wolf by Ryan Graudin. So this is set in like an alternative history where what if the Nazis actually won World War II, and what world would we be living in? So in this world there is this motorcycle race that happens across the world essentially, and our main character Yale, I think her name is Yale, I might be mispronouncing it. If I am, I'm really sorry, but our main character Yale is on a mission, and her one mission is to kill Hitler, but to do that she has to get close enough to him, and the only way to do that is if she is to win this motorcycle race, because last year the winner actually danced with him, and you know, that's the whole plot, and it's actually really good, and you don't see the twists and turns coming, and I really like the character development within this, believe it or not. So I need to see where the sequel goes, and then I think I will really enjoy it. Like I did really like this. I'm saying that a lot. I kind of sound like Ross currently from Friends when he goes, I'm fine, and he's not fine, but I did really enjoy this. I like the alternative history. I like the fantasy element of that, like the dystopian kind of element, which I thought was really, really cool. I like the motorcycle race. There is a bit of a fantasy element with like our main character and how she infiltrates this race. But yeah, I just need to read the second one. I need to just buy it, but I haven't bought it yet, which is why I haven't read it yet. But it's a really good floppy paperback as well. So another bonus. This trilogy has been on my list to finish for a while now, and that is A Discovery of Witches. So I have read the first 2 books, I need to read the third and final book, and I say this every time I talk about this trilogy. I did a body read for the first 2 books, loved it, got on really well with it. The third book, by the time it came round, everyone had lost interest and no one was bothered anymore, so we all just kind of stopped, and without that like encouragement from the body read, I also stopped and gave up and just couldn't bring myself to finish the trilogy. I want to. Like, the third book is going to be so good. Like, the first 2 are really good. The world building is amazing. It's set in Oxford and France. And the world, although is like the normal world, the descriptions are beautiful. I love it. I love the characters in it. It is a vampire romance, you know, that kind of thing. Not so keen on the romancy section of this book. Don't really agree with the main male protagonist in this. Think he's a bit controlling, don't like that, but we move on. The main female character is pretty cool. Her family are really cool. His family are really cool. It's just him that I don't like, but I'll get over it. So yeah, I just need to bring myself to read the third and final book. If anyone needs to finish this series and wants to body read, please let me know, because I seriously need the motivation to just get through it. These books are all really chunky as well, which doesn't help. So yeah, I will finish this series. I just don't know when. Another classic for booktube that has been hyped a lot is Nevernight. I read it in March. I read Nevernight in March, really enjoyed it. Again, I think 4 stars, and just haven't picked up the rest of the trilogy. Why, you ask? I don't know, because I really enjoyed this and I want to see where the rest of it goes. So in this book we're following our main character Mia Corvair, who is going to join the Red Church. She has completed the task she needs to complete in order to gain entry, and she wants to become an assassin. And we follow, again, there's a load of trial systems in this, which I love. We're watching her battle these other people to earn her rightful place as well within the Red Church. The ending, didn't see coming, really enjoyed it, thought it was great. So yeah, just need to carry this on really and see where the rest of it goes, because it's got to go somewhere. I just don't know where. Another duology that was recently finished is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I was underwhelmed by this book. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling in like the loosest form. So there are 2 separate gangs warring in 1926 Shanghai, and obviously Juliet is part of one and Romeo is part of the other, but I'm pretty sure his name is like Roma and she's still Juliet. Something happened in their past that forced them apart, and now instead of there being a love, there is a hatred. So that's pretty interesting in that aspect, but it just wasn't what I expected. I'm hoping that the sequel kind of brings it back together and brings it back to a place that I really enjoy, because that's all I'm missing. Really, that is all I'm missing. But yeah, hopefully I can finish this year, depending on when the sequel ships. If it doesn't ship until the new year, then obviously I'm not going to finish it until the new year. But I'm so glad I actually brought myself to read this, because this is so hyped and has been so loved, and I'm really glad that I've read it and kind of experienced it myself. Not fallen for the hype, which if you disagree with me, that's completely fine. But I'm hoping that the sequel is what I love, even if I don't necessarily love the first book. So the next duology that I need to finish, and I'm hoping to finish this month, is actually Fable, and in this story, we're following a young girl called Fable who has been abandoned by her father 4 years prior on this island, and he has said if she can get off the island and come and find him, then he will give her a place on his crew. So that is what she's aiming to do. And when she manages to get off the island, things go a bit Pete-tong and it doesn't go to plan. So we're just kind of following her through her trying to find her rightful place in the world, and I'm really hoping that I enjoy the sequel. I did like the first one. I spoiled myself because I accidentally read the last page, so you know, didn't have that surprise, which kind of brought it down a little bit because I'd spoiled myself, but that's my fault, not the book's fault. But anyways, hoping to finish this year, check it off and enjoy it, because that's the main thing with these books, is that I just want to enjoy the stories that are being brought out, being written, being told to us, and sometimes it just doesn't happen, and I just hope that's not the case. But anyways, moving on. So the next one is Kingdom of the Wicked. I believe Kingdom of the Cursed is a sequel and that's it. I don't think there's anything else left. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, but yeah. Again, another book I'm waiting on from Fairy Loot, because this is the first one which I got from Fairy Loot and I'm waiting on the sequel, and I don't want to read the sequel until I've got it from Fairy Loot. I refuse to buy it again. So I really enjoyed this. I read this recently actually. 4 stars, set in Italy. Our main character Emilia has a twin sister called Vittoria, and one day Vittoria doesn't come home and Emilia discovers her dead, and then becomes hellbent on obviously discovering who killed her sister. And through this revenge feeling, she summons a prince of hell, that's what she does, called Wrath, and he says that he is happy to an extent to help her find the killer of her sister. But obviously, how much can she trust this prince of hell? Do we know? No, we don't. So yeah, I love Wrath, think he's a great villain, really fell in love with him, as many other people have. Looking forward to reading the sequel. I have heard the sequel is a lot more new adult than this is, which I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Hopefully I enjoy it. I don't know, we'll find out. Hopefully I read it soon. The next trilogy I have been trying to finish. Not as long as the trilogy I'll talk about after this, but I'm now reading the sequel. Well, not yet, but I'm planning to, and that is The Poppy War. I have read this book twice now, really enjoyed it both times, 4 stars both times. Really like this book. Again, I say this every time I mention this book, check the trigger warnings, because there's a lot, and it's a lot. It's a lot, okay? So just check it. But our main character, Rin, works her butt off to get accepted into a military academy, and she gets accepted. And it's the one school she can go to with no fees attached. So she goes, and she's shunned because she is from the south, so her skin is darker than everyone else's. She's a commoner, unlike everyone else that manages to get into this school, and it's just a really big learning curve. And we follow her through her classes and just her kind of coming to grips with this new place. And then she gets thrown into a war, and that's when everything kicks off. And there is just so much good in this book. It's fantastic. I love the morally grey characters. No one's truly good, no one's truly evil. I love that. It's so human. I love the world building of this book. I love the like enemies within this book. So there is like a group of warlords, and one of them is from every province, and they're just like big kids, and they don't really see eye to eye on anything, and you see that constantly throughout the war parts of this book. It's done so well. So I need to read the 2nd and 3rd book, because I know they're going to break my heart, but I'm going to enjoy them, and that's the main thing. So I just need to crack on and read the Dragon Republic, hopefully this month. Probably not, but hopefully this month, and then finish the Burning God at some point in the new year. This next trilogy I've been trying to finish for ages, and that's The City of Brass. So I read this book and the sequel last year at some point, probably towards the end of last year, and I've been trying to read The Empire of Gold for a year, near enough, because I picked it up, started it, put it down, got distracted, carried this cycle on. I think I've restarted it twice. I still haven't got very far into it, just need to crack on and do it. So in this one, our main character Nahari is basically a scam artist in the streets of Cairo, and she can sense what's wrong with someone just by touching them or like being near them. And because of this, she uses this trick she's got essentially to scam people out of money and to make a bit of profit from the apothecary down the road, because she makes them go and give them business and she gets a cut of it, which is great. And one day she's performing an exorcism, and she actually performs magic, and she summons a djinn. And that's where everything kicks off. She gets swept away into this place that she never knew existed. She finds out stuff about her ancestry that she never knew existed. So good. This world is fantastic. I love it. I just haven't brought myself to finish the book. It's one that I really need time and energy to just devote to it, because there is so much politics within this fantasy that sometimes I get really muddled. Actually, I get really lost, and that's my problem. When I get lost, I kind of give up and meh. So I think that's what's been happening with the third book. So maybe a reread's in order to get through the first and the second book again, and then try and go straight on into the third book to make it a lot easier on myself to just keep in touch with the world. The second to last series that I've started that is completed. Well, it's completed now. There is another book coming, and this is A Darker Shade of Magic. It's staying on here until the next book comes out. So currently it's a completed trilogy. V.E. Schwab has said that she's working on the next book as well. So this is a world made up of 4 Londons. So we've got Red London, which is full of magic, Black London, which has fallen to magic, White London, which is kind of magic, and Grey London, which is the most like our London, which has no magic at all and is the most mundane. And our main characters are Kel and Lila Bard. And Kel is an Atari, and he can travel between these worlds. He's a bit of a collector as well, so he picks up things from the different worlds and then sells them on to fellow collectors, which is illegal. You shouldn't bring things in between. Lila Bard is from Grey London, and she just wants adventure. Like, that's all she wants. And at one point, these two stumble into each other, and the adventure begins. So I really love the way this book is written. I love the world. The first book is very slow build, but again, that's just quite common with V.E. Schwab books, and I think I'm going to love it more as the series goes on. I'm so excited to see where these books go, and where the new series goes as well. So the last book in the completed series, I think, that I am yet to finish is this. So this is Raybearer, and our main character, Tarasay, has been tasked with killing the crowned prince once she gets through to his like chosen council of 11. So she needs to get close to him, and when she's close enough, she can kill him. And that's the task she's been given by her mother, only known as the Lady. But obviously there are complications to this. There are other things that happen. I love this world. I love the fantasy element of it. I love the relationships within it. I love it. It's so, so good. So, again, if you want a YA duology that is good and is like fantasy and that sort of thing, definitely pick this up. That's definitely not the best description. Again, all these books will be linked down below. It's going to be a heck of a list, but they're all linked below. The first book only, obviously, linked below for you to check out. So this is the last book in my completed series that I have started and need to finish. Let's move on to my ongoing series. So the first book in the ongoing series that I am yet to finish is the one that I said has changed recently, because there's more books coming out, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses. So I've read the first book twice now. This is, again, a booktube classic. It was a trilogy with a novella. Now there's a 4th book that's come out. There's more coming. Not too sure what I make of them. Haven't got that far yet. Have only read the first book. Quite enjoyed the first book. Haven't even got halfway through the second book. So our main character in this book is called Feyre, and one day she slaughters a wolf, but it wasn't just a wolf, it was a member of a Fey court. And when someone comes knocking to make her pay for what she has done, she ends up imprisoned in an enchanted kingdom. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, as I said, so there's enemies to lovers in this. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. I can kind of see the hype, not as much as it is, but I can kind of see the hype. The hope is to obviously carry this series on. Don't know when I'm going to do that yet, because I did start rereading this. Didn't finish my reread, so I don't know whether I'm going to reread it again or just skip it, because I know what happens, happy with what happens, need to move on to the next one to see why everyone hates a certain character. And I think I get the gist of it, but I need to move on. So the next series is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is his YA sci-fi series, so if you are intimidated by Brandon Sanderson books, because they are huge and the worlds are massive, then I do highly recommend starting here. This is where I've started. These are the first books that I've read by Brandon Sanderson. We have recently had the 3rd book come out, which is called Cytonic. The sequel is called Starsight, and I believe there's going to be a 4th book. There is also some novellas which are coming out in hardback, and I believe I've pre-ordered them. I think I have, which will be really, really cool. I do need to just carry on with this series. Again, I loved the first book. I thought it was really good. Our main character is so spiky that I really love her. Her name is Spencer, and her dream is to be a pilot, but because her dad was a traitor, she knows that she will have no shot. No one will give her a shot until there is an increase in the Krell attacks, which are the aliens that attack where she lives, on the planet where she lives. And then she kind of gets her shot. There's a lot of things that go wrong in this book. There are a lot of things that go right. I really loved this, and I love how spiky she is as a character. She is quite unlikable, and I quite like it. So I am excited to see where the rest of her adventures go, and again, it's another series I need to pick up rather sharpish. I own the first 2 books in 2 formats. I own them in hardback and in paperback, because I got them in paperback originally. And then there was a re-release of the first and second books in hardback, and I got them cheaper, so that's what I did. Because I didn't want to wait for the 3rd book, because I thought I'd be further along in this series than I am. And obviously I'm not. So we're going to change that. That is the goal. The next book is actually by an indie author, and I was kindly sent this copy and I really enjoyed it. So that is Small Places by Matthew Samuels. I was very kindly sent this copy, like I just said. It is a fantasy. It kind of mixes in with the real world. It's set actually where I grew up, which is, well, parts of it are set where I grew up in, like the Cotswold area, which is quite cool. Seeing places that I've grown up going to was fantastic, and I think he did a really, really good job. So our main character is called Jamie, and he has got to sort out his mother's house because she's just been diagnosed with cancer. And when he goes back to his hometown village, he kind of somehow stumbles into a magical world which has always been there, and he remembers going there as a child, but he thought it was a dream. And he is set like a set of tasks by this crazy witch who offers him cold hard cash in exchange for his help trying to save the world, because she knows there is something wrong with Mother Nature. She can just sense it. I really liked this book. 4 stars. Can't wait for the sequel to come out. Not too sure when the sequel comes out, but you will be seeing this book again in another video that I plan to film later on for my 12 Days of Christmas, so keep an eye out for that. Another series that has made booktube fame, Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. So this is book 1, book 2 comes out next year. I'm going to reread this in January. I'm hoping this might be one of the first books I read in 2022. Again, I loved this book. Pretty sure I gave it 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. This was like my first actual Sarah J Maas book, and it's fantastic. I can't rate it highly enough. Our main character is called Bryce, and she goes through a massive trauma right at the start of the book, which I'm not going to talk about because when you read the synopsis, it ruins it and it doesn't make it as heartfelt. However, she then goes on throughout this story, and honestly, the stuff that this girl goes through and the stuff that she battles is insane. It's so good. If you haven't read this book and you like Sarah J Maas, read it. If you haven't read any Sarah J Maas and you're not sure you're going to like it, read it. This is so good. Again, check trigger warnings because it's like more adult. I think this is an adult book. I'm pretty sure this is an adult book. I'm not sure. Or it's new adult. I don't really understand how that classification really works. I loved this. 5 stars. Need to reread it. Can't wait for the sequel. So excited. Next is a middle grade, which I didn't actually think I would love as much as I actually did end up loving it, and that is Amari and the Night Brothers. So our main character is Amari, and she only knows that her brother has gone missing while doing a dangerous job. He never spoke about it. No one knows where he is. She's convinced she's going to find him, and then one day she gets invited to join the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, which is where her brother actually worked. And this is going to be the way she finds her brother. She's convinced of it. She has to compete with other kids, so again, this is another one of those like magic school trials, tribulations kind of thing. Love it. Really enjoyed the twist at the end, actually. Didn't see it coming, which I'm surprised for a middle grade. I would have thought I'd have seen it coming, but I didn't, and I loved it. So if you're not sure if you're going to enjoy it because it's a middle grade, I highly recommend it, because I'm not really a middle grade reader, but I thought this was amazing, and I've already pre-ordered the sequel. Can't wait to get to it. This next book I enjoyed, but not as much as I wanted to. I liked the ending. The ending is what made it for me, and that is Legendborn. This is like an Arthurian retelling. I like that part of it. I feel as though some of this book is really complicated. I don't know if it needs to be. However, I did still enjoy the concept. I really enjoy the topics that are talked about within this book. I really enjoy the relationships and the characters within this book. So I will be picking up the sequel and hoping that the sequel wows me more than the first book did. Won't be doing a reread. Don't think so. But yeah, I'm hoping the sequel is better. So our main character is Bree, and her mother dies in a car accident many years ago. But she is convinced that this is not right. She's convinced this is not the narrative that actually happened. When Bree is enrolled in an early college, a mage tries to perform some magic on her, and she manages to make it not work, essentially. And this is what triggers some memories about what happened to her mother. So she is convinced she's going to join the society that is linked to this mage, and she is going to find out the truth. Really enjoyed that premise. Really enjoyed some of the Arthurian retelling-y bits. Some of it, really complicated. Don't know why it needed to be that complicated. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a bit thick. I get that. I completely do. But yeah, hoping the sequel is what brings it up for me. Because there is so much that could be done with this book. It just didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. But that's also okay. So we're going to give it a chance in the sequel and see what I think. From a book I didn't enjoy as much as I thought I would, to a book I didn't think I'd enjoy as much as I did, Black Sun. This fantasy is incredible. Need the sequel. I do feel like this was hyped by certain people, but I don't feel like it was hyped enough. So here's my part on it. Black Sun. This is a fantasy book. We are following a number of characters who are going through the motions and basically all end up at the same place. So we have Serpio, who is this man wreathed in mystery and danger and prophecy, and he can't see and he's covered in scars. And there is a ship captain, Xalia, I think that's how you say her name, who is given the task to transport him back to Tova, which is like this really religious city where he needs to go to complete his prophecy. Oh, their relationship is fantastic. I love this book. I love what happens in it. The world building is incredible without being too complicated. I mean, it's not a big book, so I'm really interested to see what happens with the sequel. And I don't know when the sequel comes out, but I need to know, because I need to know when it comes out in paperback, because I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I did, so I don't have the hardcover. So when it comes out in hardcover first, I'm going to be sad. But I need to read the sequel. Also, look at this cover. Like, how cool is that? It's so cool. Another series that is ongoing, I think this is going to be a trilogy. I'm pretty sure it is. And that is Dangerous Remedy by Kat Dunn. So this is another historical fantasy-esque kind of book. So this is set originally in France in like 1794. I do that every time. So this is set in Paris in 1794 when the big revolution was happening in France, and there is this battalion called the Battalion of the Dead, and they try and save people from the guillotine, obviously before they die, because their leader, that's how she lost her parents, that's how a lot of people have lost their parents, and they are all kind of outcasts and misfits, and they come together to complete these amazing feats, essentially. I really like this. I love the found family trope of this. It's very similar in the way of like Six of Crows, which I really enjoyed, again with like the found family aspect of it, group of misfits who come together and these are the only people they really fit in with. Love that, it's so good. There is a love triangle in here, or like a love multiple way thing where everyone seems to be in love with the head of this battalion, and I don't get why, because I don't think she's overly likeable. Maybe that's why. But yeah, that was the only thing that I didn't really enjoy. But the rest of it, really, really good. Love the setting, love the history of it. The world is described so well. I fell in love with this series. The sequel is Monstrous Design, and I am part of the way through it. I was very kindly given an arc on NetGalley, and my world just went Pete Tongue. And I've just been so behind on reading my NetGalley books that I haven't read any of them recently. And I've stopped requesting them because it's that bad, so I'm much more of a physical reader anyways, always have been. So hopefully I have got the sequel of this physically as well. So hopefully I do read it soon. I don't see why I don't, but I just need to, it's the motivation. I need the motivation to just kind of push me on to read a lot of these books and to carry them on and to finish, like a lot of them just have one book left and I just need that push to read that one book. But there's so many series here. It's a little bit terrifying. The second to last book is Kingdom of Liars by Nick Martel. So I really struggle with the difference between indie author and just like unknown. So I think he's more underrated rather than indie. But in this book we're following our main character Michael, and his father was killed for being a traitor. And I really like books like that, don't I? Books that talk about traitors. But he and his siblings were actually exiled because of this, and he is marked with like a brand on his neck, and he is a pain in the backside. Don't like him. The character is awful, and it takes until like 150 pages left from the end to which you actually go, oh, you're growing, you're likeable. And I think that's why I really enjoyed this book. So because, and it sounds like really backwards, but the first massive chunk of this book, I was like, I hate you. You're really annoying. You're really arrogant, self-righteous. Why? And then we got to like 150 pages from the end, and he like kind of comes across this reason to grow and become a better person. And from that point on, it's so good. So I need to read the sequel. The sequel is out. I don't know when the next book after that is coming out. I kind of impulse bought this book because the Broken Binding had a deal on, or like an exclusive edition of it, and I fell for it, and I haven't actually done that in a little while since, which is quite good because it saves my bank account a load of money. But yeah, I actually am really looking forward to seeing what happens in the sequel. And also these covers, I love the fantasy illustrated covers thing. Like the Black Hawks has this as well. It's stunning. That's another series I need to get to, which I haven't even started yet. Again, if you want to see series that I own that I haven't started, I think I might actually just film that, whether you want it or not, because the Black Hawks is on that, the Bone Ships is on that, Furyborn is on that. There's a load of different books. But yeah, I really rated it. I rated it 4 stars. Really enjoyed it in the end. The author is actually really clever for making you hate and then love someone. Like, how do they do... Like, that's magic. That's magic. So I've just said that Kingdom of Liars was going to be the second to last. It's not. There's an ebook/audiobook that I listened to, which is going to be a series. Book 2 has been signed for, and I'm hoping it comes out real soon, and that's Paladin Unbound. I'm going to put it here, by Jeffrey Spate. So I've read the first book. It was really good. It was fantastic. 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. We are following our main character, who is called Umra, and he is half orc. So he is obviously despised everywhere he goes, and he's also a mercenary, and he has got a secret that no one knows about. And again, another book where at the start, about 100, maybe 50 to 100 pages in, I read it via audio, so I'm not too sure whereabouts it is. He goes through a tragedy and kind of loses everyone that's close to him. And it's kind of just a book about self-discovery and coming to terms with this power that he has and this like specialness that he has, that he was trained to use from when he was younger. And he goes on a quest with another merry bunch of misfits, which was so good, and I really enjoyed it. And I can't wait for my physical copy to come. Jeff has very kindly sent it to me, and I am so grateful. I cannot wait for it to arrive. And then when the sequel is announced, I'm going to reread it physically and then pick up on all those little details that I probably will have missed because I was listening to it audibly and obviously not just fully concentrating on the book. So cannot wait to get to that. And now we have the last book. I think I've probably missed something, but this is the last book that I can think I've started. This is the last series that I think I've started. Probably have missed something, but who knows. Of course, of Blood and Fire by Ryan Carhill. My most recent 5-star read. This and the novella, 5 stars. Loved it. Loved both of them. Got the arc. Need to read the arc. Going to read the arc. I'm getting to it. First book, we are following our main character, Kalen, who manages to get himself into quite a pickle. So on an errand for his father, he ends up in a bar, and then he ends up getting involved in a fight outside the bar, which throws him in with a group of mercenaries who are on their way to deliver something very precious. And because he's got involved, him and his friends now need to escape, and there is so much heartbreak in this book. Like, oh my goodness, this book made me feel things in the first book, which is why it's 5 stars. Like, how did this happen? I do not know, but I loved it. 5 stars. Read it if you haven't. Definitely underrated. Definitely an indie author, actually. And yeah, cannot wait to get to the sequel. I know I keep saying that about a lot of these books, but I'm actually going to get to the sequel super sharpish. So just can't wait for that. So there you go. There are all of the series that I've started that have been completed, and all of the series that I've started that are ongoing. This is a long video. If you've made it this far, well done you, because I don't know how I've made it this far. I've been jumbling my words left, right and centre, and my mouth is very, very dry. So I'm going to wrap this up. That is everything for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like. It really supports me and my channel. Leave me a comment down below. One series that you need to finish ASAP. Just one. You don't have to list as many as I've done. Just one. And if you just want to leave me an emoji, leave me a clock emoji, because I do feel as though like the clock is ticking down on me to read all these series and wrap them all up. Just a little bit. And if you want to see more of me, please consider subscribing down below and ringing that notification bell so you get notified every single time I upload a new video. I am uploading a video every day until Christmas Eve, so make sure you're sticking around. I have so many more videos coming, so much more cool content. I'm really happy with how this is going. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the content that's coming. So please stick around. There's a lot more coming. And after Christmas, I will be back to my usual upload schedule, which will be Wednesday and Sunday. If you want to see more bookish content from me, there will be more coming. I have New Year's plans as well. So guys, stick around. But that is everything for today's video. I really hope you're having an amazing day. Thank you for sticking around this long. This video is really long. I hope you got a good few snacks in, and I will see you tomorrow for another video. Bye.